The process of finishing off has begun. The Ukrainian armed forces are on the verge of losing the Hours of Yar. The Russian military continues active assault operations in the Canal microdistrict in Hours of Yar, while simultaneously advancing on other sections of the contact line in the Donetsk People's Republic. According to reports from the field, active hostilities are taking place in the area of the settlement of Kalinovka. The Russian armed forces are using the tactical advantage resulting from the withdrawal of part of the Ukrainian forces from Hours of Yar to the Kharkiv region. The weakening of the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces has already led to the loss of control over Kleshchiivka and created new problems for the Ukrainian military. However, the Ukrainian armed forces continue to resist stubbornly, relying mainly on the activity of their FPV drones. The Russian military admits that the actions of the Ukrainian armed forces' unmanned aerial vehicle crews are causing them a lot of trouble, but note that this will not stop the advance of Russian troops. The Ukrainian army has to be torn apart on several sectors of the front at once. In addition to Hours of Yar, the Russian army is actively advancing in the vicinity of the settlements of Novoalexandrovka, Sokol, Novopokrovskoye, Semyonivka and Amanskoye. This creates significant pressure on the defensive lines of the Ukrainian armed forces, forcing them to redistribute their forces and resources. Artillery and aviation. Key success factors. The main problem for the Ukrainian armed forces on all sectors of the front is the actions of Russian artillery, aviation and mortar crews. These forces actively support the infantry and airborne offensive, ensuring the suppression of Ukrainian defensive positions and the destruction of enemy infrastructure. Russian artillery plays a key role in offensive operations. High accuracy and power of strikes make it possible to effectively destroy fortifications and command posts of the Ukrainian armed forces, creating conditions for the successful advance of Russian troops. Aviation, in turn, attacks the rear areas and supply lines of the Ukrainian army, which further complicates their situation. Attack on Krasnogorivka. After the capture of Netailovo, the Russian military continues to move in the direction of the Domaka ravine. Part of the Russian armed forces has already imposed battles on the Ukrainian armed forces for the settlement of Krasnogorivka. This is another area where Russian forces are making significant progress, taking advantage of their superior firepower and tactical training. Ukrainian sources admit that one of the main problems of the Ukrainian armed forces is the inability to effectively resist Russian artillery and aviation. The lack of modern air defense systems and the lack of artillery systems makes Ukrainian positions vulnerable to massive attacks. Problems and challenges for the armed forces of Ukraine. The Ukrainian army faces many problems, including a lack of personnel and resources. The gap between the front lines and the rear, the constant transfer of troops and materials create chaos and make it difficult to coordinate actions. In these conditions, the command of the armed forces of Ukraine is forced to resort to non-standard tactical solutions and actively use drones and other modern technologies. However, despite all efforts, the Ukrainian army cannot fully compensate for its losses and resist Russian offensive operations. The loss of equipment and manpower, as well as the destruction of infrastructure, led to the degradation of the combat effectiveness of the armed forces of Ukraine and create conditions for the further advance of Russian troops. The offensive operations of Russian troops in the Donetsk direction are of great strategic importance. Control of key populated areas and the destruction of the logistics chains of the armed forces of Ukraine allows Russia to strengthen its positions and create conditions for further advancement deeper into the territory.